All right, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. Wow, it's been a while, hasn't it, ladies and gentlemen? Whew. I'm Darkside Phil, and welcome to the Hate Live podcast, the return show. I don't even know what number this episode is because the show has been on hiatus for almost a year and a half, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, welcome. How you doing? Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully everything finds everyone well after a year and a half away, because we all know that none of you have watched any of my content in a year and a half, and this is the very first thing that you're watching in 1.5 years, of course. Well, you've already seen one of the changes to the show. I'm going to say shout out to Darth Vidar Viking, who did a 100-bit cheer. He said, nice intro, Phil. The show is back. The show is going to be very similar to how it used to be, but with some changes, all right? Yes, there's going to be segments. In fact, I have a big paper here with all the things I want to talk about on today's podcast. Today's podcast, I would expect, is going to go at least 2 hours long, if not longer, because we've got so much to talk about, being that it's been a year and a half away, and I don't really do vlogs all the time anymore, you know, to a point where I get to talk with you guys, you know? The communication between myself and you, the viewers, has always been a prime thing that allows me to be kind of like connected to you, right? And the podcast always used to do that. It was like the go-to place for me to do all that stuff. But sadly, when the podcast went away, all that kind of maybe went into the wayside, and some people fell out of line with being connected with me and knowing what's going on with me. By the way, shout out to Dewdrop24, who just subscribed to my Twitch channel. Thank you, Dewdrop. I appreciate that. Hope you enjoyed today's podcast. So let's talk, folks. Let's talk a little bit. Oh, I actually got, I got a $10 tip from Anonymous. It says, all employees. All right, folks, let's talk about what you can expect on today's podcast, all right? First of all, it's going to be all kinds of stuff. We're going to be talking about myself, the business, world news, gaming news, my schedule coming up, WWE news. There's going to be a whole segment about WWE where I'm going to talk about what I think about the current shows of wrestling and NXT and everything that I've been watching there, because I really don't talk about that stuff at all anymore, right? Ever. And now it's a chance for me to come back and talk about that stuff. There's going to be a whole segment based around what happened with me in the past couple of months, trying to basically find a network on YouTube that would be the best fit for me, and the pitfalls of doing that. I'm going to tell you all the behind-the-scenes stuff that happened with that, because there's a lot of misinformation on the internet about it, and I want to clear it all up. There's going to be a Q&A segment where people in the stream chat are going to be able to ask me questions and talk to me and stuff, all right? So lots of stuff going on the podcast today, which is why I fully expect, with all the stuff that I have to discuss, this giant list of things I want to go through, that this show is probably going to end up lasting at least 2 hours, if not longer, okay? Shout out to Keycon3, who just did a 500-bit cheer, and he said, yo, you see me, son? Let's start this game. Come on, son. That's one of the big changes to the podcast now, folks, is that people who are here watching live on Twitch, if they cheer, sub, or tip me, I'll be giving a shout out to them. And also from time to time, I'll actually be looking at the stream chat and reacting to what people are saying, which is something I didn't used to do, right? I used to kind of isolate myself when I did any kind of a show for YouTube. And it was like, well, I pretend like I'm offline, like I'm not even streaming. And it's kind of silly, honestly, because then you're wasting the opportunity of having people there live. All right, and I definitely want to have that interactivity. In fact, the past couple of months, when I've changed up my style, so even my video game playthroughs are far more interactive now, people have said, Phil, you seem more positive, you seem more engaged, and we like that, and please keep doing it. So that's the deal, is that this is going to be the very first Hate Live podcast where we're going to be more interactive, all right? So again, if you cheer, sub, or tip me during the stream, you'll get a pop-up notification. I'll give you an acknowledgement and a shout-out. I'll be looking at what people are saying, okay? Lots of stuff to be different and make this show more refreshing than the old podcasts, all right? And no, I'm not getting paid, but you know what? This is the drink that I've been drinking for the past almost 2 months now. V8 energy drinks. They're great because they don't have a lot of sugar in them. They don't have loaded with the fucking taurine and all that shit, bull's balls or whatever. It's actually fruit and veggie juice mixed with some other ingredients. It has very low carbs, only 12 carbs, so 50 calories in this can, but it gives you a big energy boost, and it actually is a serving of fruits and vegetables for the day as well. So this is what I drink, one a day. I usually have one of these as I'm beginning up with all of my activities here. So a nice quick plug to the drink that I really like. Although I'm not getting paid for this, I might as well give them a plug anyway. Okay. So let's talk. The podcast itself, Hate Live, all right? I used to do Hate Live for over 2 years. It was an ongoing thing that I did from time to time. And the reason that I really liked doing Hate Live in the past was because it allowed me to connect with you in a way that just this individual vlog didn't. I had a 2-hour show where I was talking about all these variety of topics, right? And all these things going on, and I was able to, basically keep you in the know. And it was the go-to place to go for information about me. I would do it maybe every month or every couple of weeks sometimes. If there was more to talk about, I would do it more often, and people really liked the show. But why did Hate Live go away? Because the bottom line is the final episode of Hate Live that happened was at the very end of 2015. It was actually the end of December. It was like late 2015, the year-end show. Why did it go away? Well, it went away because in 2016, I wanted to do things a little differently. What I did is I had 3 YouTube channels. I had DSP Gaming for gameplay, raw gameplay. I had KO Gaming, which was for all of the edited style stuff, right? Like game reviews, countdowns, etc. And then I wanted to make the King of Hate vlogs into a vlogging channel where I did things like I reacted to current events and news. I did movie reviews or opinions and stuff for movies that I went to see. And for the most part, for the first half of the year, that it worked out. All right, for the first half of 2016, the King of Hate vlogs was that. And so the things that I normally would have talked about in Hate Live, I basically broke up into separate segments and I uploaded them as individual videos to the King of Hate vlogs. But what ended up happening, sadly, is it just didn't work out. And what I mean by that is I ended up getting too inundated in the gameplay and the edited content, right? If you remember, about halfway through 2016, KO Gaming blew up. Like I had a video on there when I did my video review of, what was it? Homefront the Revolution, which ended up being a terrible, absolutely god-awful game. It blew up on YouTube and ended up getting almost 1 million views. I think at this point it has gotten 1 million views. And it brought in a ton of people to the channel, so I was focusing a lot on doing the edited style content, because at the time that was bringing in a lot of attention, right? And between the edited content and doing the raw gameplay streams and gameplay videos, the vlogging kind of fell by the wayside. And I admit, that's a fault of mine that I didn't keep up with it and that I wasn't able to maintain it the way that I had intended. And in a lot of ways, I think people got disappointed because there are people out there who every once in a while they'll watch a playthrough or an edited video, but they really like my vlogging, and the vlogging really suffered in the second half of 2016 because of that. And I know that. Okay, I totally know that and I understand that. That's why now that things are a little different, right, and now that it really isn't about YouTube that much anymore, I'm able to bring back a show like this and focus on it. And you might say, well, what do you mean it's not about YouTube anymore? Well, you might not know this. I mean, I can't believe you wouldn't. If you've been following my channel, you know. YouTube is falling apart at the seams. It really is, okay? Oh, by the way, shout out to Stinkin' Burrows who just did a 10-bit cheer. It said 10 cents. YouTube is falling apart. The website itself has basically ruined itself. And what I mean by that is the employees and the management decided for years that everything would be automated. And now they're finally realizing that automation is not the answer when you're trying to run a giant business where millions of dollars are at stake of ad revenue. And YouTube, at this point, the ads on YouTube are pathetic. Like, you can't really make a living on it anymore unless you're making millions of views every single day. I certainly aren't bringing that in. And a lot of people who've been doing YouTube has said, man, we got to stop doing this as a job, okay? Now, the good news is for me, I've diversified. I'm now splitting my efforts. I'm focusing more on a Twitch presence than a YouTube presence, and it is working out, okay? But what that means, because I am splitting my efforts, it means that I'm not really going to be caring about, oh, I need to do a vlog every day now for the vlogging channel, and oh, I need to get an edited video out on KO Gaming anymore. No, for me, it's more about the interactions on stream, right? This is more important to me now because this is the future of people who want to do this kind of content for a living. It really is. It's the interactive streams that are going to allow people to do this as a job moving forward. YouTube, sadly, is on the way out, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying that they might not come back. You know, you never know what they're doing to change. Right now, they're desperately trying to change the site to make it more advertiser-friendly and to try to make it so that more advertisers will come back to the site and that they'll make more money. But the problem is when you get a stigma, it's hard to remove that stigma. And boy, do I know that for a fact, you know, with all the shit that people have said about me over the years. And advertisers now are of the impression that YouTube is not a good place to advertise because the ads are ineffective and they'll put your ads on videos that just you would not want to be associated with, like terrorism and racism. So for me, okay, I want to keep putting videos on YouTube, but I realize that I can't maintain a balance of you know, having it be something that's going to support me enough to pay my bills at the scale of a YouTuber that I am. You know, it would be one thing if this were 2012 and I was still bringing in a ridiculous amount of views every day, but things change, and, you know, my style of gameplay video isn't the prominent style anymore, and I know that, but I know that I have a following. I know that I have people who will watch my videos and enjoy them, and yes, it is profitable to keep doing this as a job, so I'm now focusing more on Twitch than YouTube. So what that means is I can bring back a show like Hate Live, right? Because I don't have to worry about putting out multiple vlogs on the King of Hate vlogs anymore, because the bottom line is they wouldn't make money anyway. I can make a show like this, okay, where it's fun and I can interact with you guys and I can talk with you and share my thoughts on things, and it could just be a fun experience, right? Rather than figure out, oh man, I have to take this podcast now and split it up into 10 videos and upload them separately to make money on YouTube. I don't really care about that anymore. I don't. And it's the other thing is, a lot of people say Phil used to be Mr. Views, used to talk about views all the time. I don't care. I really don't care how many people watch the videos on YouTube anymore. I don't. It's just not a concern of mine. I don't, you know, the comments on YouTube are toxic now. You can't even go to any video and read the comments anymore and see positive stuff unless you go to like some giant YouTubers videos where they have a million fans who all just kiss their ass. Outside of that, all the comments on YouTube are totally toxic. You know what I mean? Like, it's a totally different thing now. Things have definitely changed on YouTube, and that's why I want this to be more of a Twitch-focused thing, okay? All right. Shout out to... let's see, Rich Homie Chaotic, who did a 20-bit cheer and said, why do so many... I don't know if this is a racist term or not, so I'm not even going to say it. He says, why do so many blah play Street Fighter 5? I think he's being racist, so I'm not going to say that. I don't know. Anyway. Of course, that's the pitfall of doing these, you know, pop-ups and everything on the stream, is you never know what people are going to say, and you got to be careful. I'm pretty sure that was a racist comment, and I'm not going to say it. All right. So, Hate Live is back. How often will I be doing it? It all depends, all right? It depends on many factors. Number one, is there stuff to talk about? Right now, of course, I've got a lot of stuff to talk about because I haven't done a podcast in a year and a half, and I don't do vlogging often anymore. So this is a great opportunity for me to get caught up on everything. And that's when I said, I really feel this show is going to end up going long because I have so much to talk about on the show, okay? After today, I'm not sure how often we'll do it. By the way, shout out to the G4S Pharaoh who says, who are you going to main in Injustice 2? And he did a 30-bit cheer. I don't know, because I haven't played the game yet. Well, I played the beta, but I've seen a lot of new characters now that I've been playing the app of Injustice 2, which just released the other day. And a lot of the characters look pretty interesting to me, so it'll be a fun week this week of me playing that game. We're going to talk a little bit about that, because that's one of the segments is the gaming schedule coming up, okay? All right. But yeah, I don't know how often the show will be. It's going to depend on two factors. Number one, is there stuff to talk about? If there's gaming news I want to address, if there's stuff going on with me that I want to get everyone caught up on, you know what I mean? If there's stuff going on in WWE, if there's other topic segments that I want to do and I want to basically do a podcast, I have the flexibility to do it. But it also is going to factor in, number two, what's going on with the gaming universe. Because if I'm in the middle of 10 new releases and I'm juggling them all, obviously that's not a good time to just drop everything to do a podcast, right? I'm going to have to find that balance between the live streaming gameplay and uploading videos to YouTube, but also having this interaction with you guys and gals and bringing it back, because I really do feel that there has kind of been a loss of a connection since Hate Live went away. I know a lot of people loved the podcast and were sad to see it go. I was sad to see it go, but I was trying something new. It didn't work out, so now we go back to what I know people like, right? Okay, so there you go. That's kind of the intro segment. Now let's talk, folks, about a lot of the segments that we're going to do, basically a bunch of news, status, and stuff like that. First of all, let's get this out of the way, all right? Let's talk about myself and my business briefly. We don't have to go into super duper detail about it, because the good news is it's good news. For the first time since probably like November of last year, I have good news for you in regards to myself and the business, okay? Right now, I think I have found a balance, okay? And what I mean by that is a balance between uploading the videos to YouTube, but also the new style of videos and things that I'm now doing for Twitch, okay? And that balance is allowing me now to make enough between the money that I'm making on ad revenue on YouTube with my partnership with Curse, who I'm with now, and the tips and bits and the cheers that I'm getting on Twitch, combined with Patreon, which I have to call out Patreon because the thing is, with the focus that I've now done on Twitch, a lot of people have forgotten completely about Patreon, which isn't good, because obviously Patreon is an integral part of everything going on here, and it always has been for the past 2 years a way that supplements my income and allows me to afford my life and my bills and everything, and allows me to buy the games and do everything I need to do for the business, all right? So between those 3 main income sources, all right, I now have enough to support myself and pay my bills and everything. It was very, very hairy there. From November until just recently, I didn't know what was going to happen in regards to the bills and everything, because every month it was something different. First, all of a sudden, YouTube ad revenue tanked at the end of last year. Then the views tanked out of nowhere because YouTube changed the algorithm of how they count views, which is fucking ridiculous. Then early on this year, again in February, ad revenue dipped by 50%. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, you just changed the algorithm for views, and now you're going to also take away 50% of ad revenue. And that was because they screwed up, and you all know the deal. You've seen the Wall Street Journal article that YouTube basically was not in touch with its advertisers, and a bunch of advertisers pulled their funding and said, we're not going to advertise on your website anymore because it's all automated, and you're giving ads for our businesses to people who aren't the target market. In particular, you're putting on offensive videos like racist tirades and, terrorist videos and stuff, and it's ridiculous that your website has no checks and balances. So all that happened, right? And I was nervous because, let's face it, YouTube was my bread and butter. YouTube was probably about 80%, if not more, of my monthly income. And seeing that giant dip in February, I had to make a change. And I changed, and as you've seen, my gameplay videos now are different, more interactivity, right? Okay. And, it basically has worked out. And I didn't know if it would. I mean, when I started to change in late February, early March, it was an experiment. I didn't know if being more focused on a Twitch audience would be the solution. But it has worked out for the most part. And now I've seen basically everything going on Twitch has like doubled or tripled. And it's on the way up. Every day I'm getting more followers. I'm getting more people subbing. And it's great. It's a great feeling. I love interacting with people here live on the stream. Okay. And it's a great, fun, positive experience. By the way, Daihixe, I apologize, I have no idea how to pronounce your name. Daihixe just said, guess who has said that this would happen to YouTube for years? It was you, Phil, with the content creators and the advertisers. Right. Listen, unlike a lot of people who do YouTube for a living, I actually went to school for business. I worked at a major corporation for 5 years. Okay. I have a business mind. Now, I know I make a lot of mistakes because the bottom line is there's no guide to success for the internet, okay? There just isn't. This whole thing with YouTube and everything was a brand new thing that no one had ever experienced before. But from a business-minded perspective, seeing what YouTube was doing with automation and constantly changing the site and not listening to feedback from people who were providing the content that was making them money, right? I'm the content creator. I put the content on your website that brings viewers to watch ads so YouTube can make money. If you ignore me, then you're ignoring the person that's making you the money, right? But that's what YouTube has always done. They've completely ignored the feedback of the people who are their bread and butter and allow them to make money on YouTube. And it just blew up finally. You know, how many years can you have automated systems that don't work? Copyright strikes, false copyright strikes, left and right, all over the fucking website with no real recourse, and basically you're guilty until proven innocent, which is the opposite of the U.S. court system. So basically their entire system is illegal and would not hold up in a court of law, but that's the system that they do. A content ID system that claims videos and ad revenue on a video for a song, when in reality, again, if you brought it to court, no judge in his right mind would ever say, because a song played in a video, you made 100% of all proceeds ever of that video go to that one person or that one company who owns the rights to the song. No, that would never happen, but that's how YouTube treats it, because it's all automated. They always look for the easy way out, the easy solution. So, it's not surprising in this day and age that their automated ad divvying system, right, giving advertisements for life insurance and buying a car and putting it on videos from YouTubers who cater their stuff to kids, right? So kids sitting there, 8-year-old kids watching PewDiePie, and he's getting advertisements for all this shit. Do you really think he's gonna go buy a fucking car? No, he can't. And then they put the ads on videos that obviously are advertiser unfriendly with, excessive swearing, racist stuff, terrorist stuff. Of course, there's finally going to be a backlash when these advertisers finally take a look at their books and they say, we put so-and-so number of dollars into advertisement on YouTube. What did we even see as a return on investment? And then they go to see, well, let's do some research to see where our ads are actually going, to see, you know, what our return on investment is. And they immediately start finding these fucking terrible videos that their ads are on. And they're like, what the hell? Of course. But anyone could have told you this, but YouTube doesn't listen. That's the problem. YouTube has no actual way to have interactivity with them where you can give them this feedback. And when they do give feedback, when they do, the rare times when they'll ask for it, they completely and utterly ignore it. There have been many times over the years that they ask, oh, what do you think about this change to the website? What do you think about this new layout that we're going to launch? What do you think? And everyone will respond, and if anyone gives a negative response, they disregard it. They only read, like, the ass-kissing comments. So how are you ever going to improve if all you ever read is the ass-kissing, you know? And I myself have learned this over the years, right? There's been people who have been very critical of my stuff, and a lot of the times I go, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it, right? But over the years, I've mellowed out to that, and I've become a lot more receptive to criticism because I've realized that criticism is a good thing as long as it's constructive, as long as it's not destructive. If you're going to go to YouTube and say, well, fuck you guys are pieces of shit, and you're dumb fucks, and you're never going to do it right, fuck you. No, that's not criticism. But if you go to YouTube and you say, you know, I really don't think that this new channel layout is going to work because it looks like a textbook page and it's going to disengage people from coming to my channel page because it doesn't look creative anymore, that's valid constructive criticism. The problem is YouTube just says, delete, 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 because we know better than you. And that's why YouTube is in the situation it is right now. So, the good news is, folks, that I have found a balance. Officially now, I'm basically in this situation where I found a balance between the streaming on Twitch in a new method, right? The new way that I'm doing it, and still uploading the videos to YouTube. And right now, I'm good. Now, I'm not saying that that's permanent, and I'm certainly not saying that it's going to be for the future. I'm locked in. There's no way to even say that. Look at how many times over the years that I've done this kind of thing for a living, right? I've done it for a living since 2011, and how many changes I've had to freaking implement and all the things I've had to do to basically stay where I am and keep doing this as a job, all right? It hasn't been easy. It's been a lot of road bumps and a lot of problems, but together, you and I, right, have overcome them. Now, you may be a new viewer, and this is news to you, but I have a pretty dedicated, long-time fan base, people that have been with me through thick and thin over the years. They've seen, I've had to change my content a million times. I mean, I used to just have a camera pointed at my television that I record 10-minute segments and upload to YouTube, this terrible quality footage, and then it went to direct capture, it went to live streaming, it went to integrating things like more vlogging and podcasts and things like that, and now we are where we are today. You know, many different changes. But yeah, I am very, very happy now because it looks to me like if I could keep things where they are right now, we're good to go. It looks like I'm good business. I won't have to worry about finances and stuff. I won't have to basically be constantly telling you, oh, guys, I'm in a crisis and I need your help with this or this. It'll be more like business as usual, where every day people can come out to the streams, watch, and as long as people continue to participate with cheers and subs and tips and stuff like that, which they have been, that's the thing, they have been doing that constantly for the past 3 months almost. It's been consistent, which is a good thing. And as long as people continue to watch the videos on YouTube, I think everything's going to be fine. I do. And that's again, it feels so much better for me to be able to say that after 6 months of being in a tumultuous situation where I didn't know if this was going to work out, to be able to do this and say I feel kind of safer, not completely safe, but at least safer for the first time in 6 months is a load off my chest. It really is. Okay. So, folks, that's the deal with myself in the business. Right now, everything is good. I want to say thank you to everyone who has participated in the past 2.5 to 3 months with the new method. People who have been understanding, you know, I understand. I used to do these isolated playthroughs where it was just me in the game like this, and there wasn't any interactivity, and it wasn't me reading stream chat or reacting to anything or anything like that, right? And, you know, it's been a wild ride, but right now, if we can keep it where the level it's at, we're good. And the good thing is, like I said, with my Twitch here, I've seen growth. Just right now, since I started streaming, I've got, like, new follows, new people subbing. People are joining and watching my stuff every day. Especially when I do new releases, people come out to watch. I in particular, this week, you know, you got Injustice 2 coming out. I think we're going to have a lot of good, positive attention around my streaming and stuff like that that's going to lead to growth. And right now, Twitch is the future. Twitch is the future for gamers. All right? I hate to say it, I know a lot of people have been saying it, but a lot of people are denying it as well. No, YouTube is over. YouTube had its time in the sun, and because of the terrible management that work at the company, they have run themselves into the ground. And no one is going to be looking at YouTube as any kind of a viable business venture or a way that you can go and do anything creative, because just think about it. Oh man, I'm a singer and I want to get my stuff out there, and you sing a song on YouTube, content ID matched, muted because you sang lyrics from someone else or something, right? It's like, what? But that's what the website is now. It's just business oriented, only really catering now to big corporations. So who's going to use it? And it's going to gradually just keep, it's going to fall apart at the seams. It's going to become a commercial thing where it's going to be like YouTube Red. That's the one thing what people have been saying. YouTube Red is going to be the only way to even use the site anymore to make money, right? So I don't know, man. It's certainly though, it's not that I want to give up on YouTube. I don't. I would have loved to keep doing YouTube, but it just isn't viable. They have run it into the ground, and there's only so much that someone like me can do, especially because I'm a very individual person. I do things my way, you know that. You know, I never really adopted to the big trends on YouTube to make myself YouTube famous or popular or anything like that. I'm very stubborn, and I like doing what I like to do when it comes to raw gameplay and my style and everything. And because of that, there's just no way to just make a living on YouTube anymore with how I am, you know, with my content. Only if I completely changed myself utterly and just 100% becoming this kind of edited content, scripted humor kind of guy, then maybe it would get some kind of more popularity. But the thing is, I'm already known on YouTube. It would be one thing if I was a newcomer starting up. I'm not. And no one's going to say, wow, Phil's been doing this for 7 years in one way. Now he's going to change. That's not going to work. So I have to diversify. I have to do what I have to do. And that's why Twitch is kind of the focus. Honestly, for most people now who are looking to do gaming, Twitch is where it's at. Twitch is where everyone is, and honestly, I think Twitch right now, backed by Amazon, is just going to keep seeing growth, because it's been seeing growth, and no negatives at all. They've been seeing more positive things, more people are coming to Twitch, more opportunities for Twitch, while YouTube is going down, where they're not seeing all the opportunities for YouTubers are going down now. It's sad. It really is freaking sad. All right, folks, let's talk news. We got many news things that I'd like to talk about in this segment, all right? In particular, let's talk about world news, all right? Things that have been going on in the world. So, yeah, I am going to briefly address politics here, but I'm not going to go into heavy detail, and this is going to be a very short segment, trust me. Whew, man. I haven't talked about this in months, right? I've shied away from world news and politics and stuff simply because what a crazy-ass situation we are now in with President Trump, right? Donald Trump is the president of the United States of America, and it certainly seems like all hell has broken loose, right? Like, every day there's some kind of crazy news story about this scandal or this thing that Trump did that's not presidential, or, you know, trying to change healthcare, trying to change taxes, trying to do this, the border policy, and trying to make more immigration stronger, and presidential orders that have been signed. I don't think in my entire life, okay, I really don't think that in my entire life I have seen politics become drama as much as I've seen in this past few months, all right? Now, that's to be expected because our president is a former reality TV star. He was the freaking, you know, one of the top guys in charge of The Apprentice and Celebrity Apprentice. So obviously when you have a reality TV star that's been voted in to be the president of the United States, you're going to have drama. And it seems like news outlets are eating it up. You know, it could be one way where news outlets say, well, we're just going to cover it professionally and we're just going to basically report the facts. No, every day I pick up my phone here, okay? And I say, okay, what's new in the news? Let's see what's going on here. And I'll scoot over, and here we go. Top news story on CNN. I'm not even lying. I'm reading this headline news at CNN. The Trump-exhaustion plaguing the GOP. This is supposed to be the main news site, like one of the main unbiased news sites. Trump-exhaustion. Wow, that sounds like a real thing and a news story, right? What? You know, and every day I open up the news and it's just like the biggest, craziest spins on ways to make things dramatic, right? There was one day, I swear to God, Donald Trump and his wife Melania exiting a plane, but look how far apart they are and they're not holding hands. What does that mean for their marriage? What? How the fuck is this news? You know? And for me, when I see shit like that, when I see the mainstream media, these are supposed to be the mainstream news sites that we're supposed to follow for news. When I see that drama bullshit on there that only a high schooler would fucking care about, I turn off and I get disinterested. I know that's bad because we all should be invested in our own governments and we should be invested in our leadership and everything. I can't connect when I see that bullshit. I can't connect with it. Now, on the flip side of that, I am no defender of Donald Trump. I completely disagree with many of the things that he's done since he went into office. And right now, he's trying to do stuff that's worrying me greatly, okay? Right now, the Republicans in the House of Representatives in the United States are trying to change the health care bill. It was Obamacare is the one that we have right now. That's the one that President Obama instituted. And they're trying to change it. Now, I, personally, have been one of the people who has been very negatively affected by Obamacare. If you haven't been paying attention to the things I've been saying for the past few years, I'll briefly summarize, okay? Healthcare basically became a national mandate. And what that means is that in order to get healthcare in the United States, you had to get it. There was no way around it. You were forced to get it, or else you had to pay heavy fees that ended up being just as expensive as getting the healthcare anyway. So why the hell wouldn't you get it, right? The problem was they nationalized the system and put it into these regional websites and regional kind of deals where I used to just be able to say, I want to get healthcare. Okay, let me go online and let me go to some companies that I know. I know the name, or you can even search for popular healthcare companies and look at the plans that they offer you based on your health and conditions and things like that. And you could get a healthcare plan that you qualify for and get it. And the healthcare plans usually would be pretty good. They would cover a lot of stuff. And the thing is, I'm self-employed. So unfortunately, I don't work for a company that covers me with healthcare. There are many companies out there that cover me, that would cover me if I worked. When I had my office job, I had healthcare through them, and that health insurance was great. There were many times that, you know, I either was sick or whatever, I went to the doctor, and most of the time I didn't have to pay a ton of money. The problem now is I'm self-employed, and I don't have that backing from a corporation anymore. So the bottom line is no matter what healthcare I got, it was going to be expensive. But under Obamacare, premiums for healthcare went down, so they got slightly cheaper, but the quality of healthcare for the middle-class citizen like me went out the shitter. Like, I would go to the doctor. I'll give you an example. 2 years ago, I had to go to the doctor for a healthcare issue, okay? I go to the doctor. Okay, well, I think it's this. We're not sure. We need to do an x-ray and a blood test, okay? And I'm going to give you this medication for swelling. Great. Under my old healthcare, it might have cost me maybe a couple $100s for all of that. Under Obamacare, I had to pay almost $100 just to go to the doctor, okay? I had to pay over $300 for the medication because it wasn't covered under Obamacare. They just don't cover the medication for swelling. Makes a lot of sense, right? It's like a common medication. They don't cover it. I had to pay for most of the x-ray. I had to pay for the blood test. By the time all was said and done, for the one office visit I made, it cost me almost $1,000. Okay? Almost $1,000 out of my pocket for one health issue. Now, that's an issue. Imagine now if I was going for routine checkups and I was going for all the things that you would be expected to go for. Every time you go, you got to pay. And that was the problem with Obamacare, is it covers people who don't have health care. So for the very lower echelon of people in the United States who didn't have health care or didn't have sufficient health care, they get free health care now, which is great, and I support that wholeheartedly, but it's at the expense of me. It's not at the expense of the rich people who have all the money and they could basically pay for the lower class. No, they're not paying for it because they're doing their own thing. They have their own class of shit that they do with healthcare. They pay out of pocket for everything. I'm paying for it all. So I'm paying money for healthcare and I'm not getting any actual health insurance coverage. I'm not getting it at all. I'm basically paying for nothing. And I'm forced into it under Obamacare for paying for nothing. So this is the problem with Obamacare, is that, yes, it helps the lower class, and it's at the expense of the middle class. So in the past few years in America, all the middle class has risen up and said, this is bullshit. You know, I can't even afford, you know, there are people out there in middle class who are sick, and they don't even go to the doctor or get medicines anymore because they can't afford it. And it's funny because people are saying, oh, no one with healthcare dies, you know, when they're on healthcare. No, it's bullshit. The truth is people are sicker than ever before, and they actually did a survey. This is true. Last year they did a survey. They did all this research, and they found out the healthcare industry tanked in 2016 when it came to the amount spent. Meaning, at a record low, people are going to a doctor less than ever. People are getting less procedures and everything because Obamacare doesn't cover anything unless you're dirt poor. So this is the problem with Obamacare, all right? I actually like the idea of everyone getting health care. I like the idea that there's no pre-existing conditions. I like the idea that people who are younger, like up until the age of 26, that they would be covered for health care under their parents' plans. I support all of that, but I don't necessarily support it if other people get screwed over, right? Oh, so now this people get health, but these people don't. Who is to say who's better than someone else? It doesn't make any sense. You're basically saying this group of people get stuff and this people don't. Why? Who's the judge and jury of a person of who deserves what? It's fucked up. It's a fucked up system. Okay. So anyway, thank you to MatrixMan92 who just subscribed to the channel for the 3rd month. So thank you, Matrix Man. You now have your silver crown badge here in the chat if you chat it up. Okay. So anyway, what's been going on in the United States is the Trump administration, the people who are in charge of the government now, because Trump was voted in as the president, are trying to change stuff. But they haven't done a very good job at finding anything that's going to solve the problem. Like, they have this healthcare bill that was just passed in our House of Representatives, which is one of our branches of government in the legislative branch. Now it has to go to the Senate for approval. But everyone's saying, they're looking at this bill, they're like, so what exactly does this bill solve? Because it doesn't make it cheaper for everyone. It doesn't solve the problem that premiums are overinflating. But it seems like people who voted for it are saying it will, but people are factually saying, no, if you read the bill, it doesn't solve anything. That's kind of the problem right now with our country right now, is it's just in shambles. There's no agreement on anything. Everyone's at everyone's throats. For the first time, I'd say since I've seen in my lifetime, it really seems like no one's willing to work together to solve problems. Everyone's just bipartisan as hell. Either you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, and if you're not one of those, you don't matter, which sucks because I'm an independent. I am not a Democrat or a Republican. I agree with the Democrats on some issues. I agree with the Republicans on some issues. And for me, I'm kind of middle of the road, and it's like impossible to do that because now people just write you off. If you're not polarized one way or the other, it doesn't matter anymore. And that's terrible. For me, especially the years that I've done YouTube, all right? If anything, what this whole thing has taught me is that you need to be able to put yourself in the shoes of another person and see from another perspective. That is the way that you can actually learn, okay? And you can grow and you can prosper and you can make informed decisions and you can do things in a much more mature manner. And, you know, I've learned to do that over the years. It used to be when I was very stubborn. I would only see from my one perspective, and my perspective was the right perspective no matter what. And there's no way to see outside of my own perspective, okay? But I've changed, you know, for the better, I think, over the years. I've learned doing this as a job. And because of that, I've grown. And I think, unfortunately, right now, what's happening is our country, collectively, is just becoming this kind of shut off two factions, and that's not a way to operate. It's not. People have to work together to find a solution. I wholeheartedly believe that if the Democrats and the Republicans in the United States actually came together and said, let's work together and make a compromise philosophy to find how healthcare can work in the United States, to find how taxes can work in the United States, they could do it. The problem is they hate each other. They're like so... It's like I said, even reading the news, I turn on the news and it's a story deriding the president, right? Something stupid, something puerile, something childish that, like, what the fuck does that accomplish? Nothing, but you get a laugh out of it, right? You watch the late night talk shows and all this is making fun of the government. Well, then you're not going to get anywhere. If you don't have anything positive to say to support the government or suggest something, you're not going to help. And that's the situation we're in right now, is everyone just wants to be negative, 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 negative. No one wants to ever be positive. And when you're not positive, you can't get stuff done. I know that personally. So, world news, the United States is kind of fucked right now. I don't know if this is going to last the entire presidency that Trump's in office, but for me, I mean, I'll be honest, it makes me shut off. It makes me, when I see this stuff, yes, of course I have to be in the know of what's going on because it's my country that I live in and I should know what's going on. In particular, right, one thing that I'm nervous about is taxes, okay? Because right now, the way that I do my taxes being self-employed is that every year I get a bunch of write-offs. This office I'm in right now is a huge tax write-off because I have a room in my house that's dedicated to the business. And because of that, I'm able to save a bunch of money on taxes. Well, Trump has a tax plan where he wants to do away with a ton of the tax write-offs that you can do and just do a new base exemption. So what that means would be you can say, if you own your own business or whatever, you have a base amount of money that you can say, I am exempt from this amount from taxes because I own my own business. I don't know, with this new Trump tax plan, is that amount that he's setting aside as the base exemption for taxes, is that the same as what I'm doing now? Is it less or more? If it's less, I'm fucked. Basically, my taxes are going to go up, and that's not good. I mean, how am I going to afford that, especially with everything that's been going on the past 6 months, as I've already discussed? I'm finally now in a situation where it looks like things I can afford them and things are good, but now if the taxes go sky high again, right, how am I supposed to support myself? And the other thing is, it makes no sense, because if you're going to amend the tax code, okay, at all, the tax code should be amended so that businesses can prosper in the United States. That's what should be the goal of an amended tax code. Because the more businesses that prosper in the United States, the more money comes in to the country, the more people will come in to have jobs, and that's what makes a healthy economy. If you make a tax code that's going to have more taxes on people that have their own businesses, how does that make sense? Now you're going to have it so that not only are these people now responsible for covering people under Obamacare, which is ridiculously expensive, now you're going to raise their taxes. All these companies are going to go out of business, you know? And it just baffles me that this is some of the things that people are talking about doing. It drives me nuts. All right, that's the segment about world news. That's all I'm going to talk about in governmental news here or whatever. I don't want to get too much more into it. Like I said, I am not Republican or Democrat. I'm in the middle, and I have my own opinions on, you know, different things. Already, I see people are asking questions. Like, for example, oh, since you live in Seattle, and that's an immigration hub, do you feel immigrants are damaging the U.S.? That could be a whole separate discussion that we could talk about in the future. I don't want to get into it now. Right now, I've got a lot of topics I want to get to on the show. So that's it for this episode of Hate Live. That's where I'm ending that, but we can certainly talk this kind of stuff in the future, okay? All right. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to gaming news, ladies and gentlemen, because I got two big stories that I want to talk about that have happened in gaming news in the past couple of weeks, all right? The first story is Mass Effect Andromeda, okay? Mass Effect Andromeda, folks. It disappoints me to even have to talk about this, because as you know, I played Mass Effect Andromeda, and it was such a disappointing game for me. Many reasons. I've already reviewed the game, but just to summarize, all right? The gameplay was a step back from the previous Mass Effect games. I don't know why they took stuff out like they did, like the ability to control your teammates in combat. It's insane, the choices that they made in this game. The amount of bugs that were in the game that held it back. The facial animations were terrible. I mean, there's tons of things you could talk about as negatives in Mass Effect Andromeda that just made it not a very fun experience compared to the polish and the shine and the quality level of the original trilogy. And a lot of people who are longtime Mass Effect fans were incredibly disappointed with how Andromeda turned out, okay? Well, the story came out, I don't know if it was officially like a press release or if it was leaked or whatever, that BioWare, okay, and EA, the publisher, and BioWare, the company that developed the game, were very disappointed with the reception that Mass Effect Andromeda got, to the point that they may be putting the entire series on hold. Like, it was in their plans, okay, that they were going to move forward and they were going to continue with the Andromeda series. If you don't know, the Andromeda ends on a cliffhanger. There's a big cliffhanger where there's a villain who wasn't defeated and it looks like he's going to come back for a sequel or whatever and he'll be the main villain. It may never continue. And the Mass Effect universe may actually go on hold for a while, to the point where this game was so poorly received by audiences, reviewers and gamers alike, that they may have screwed over the franchise. And I'm just like, are you serious? Like, really? Like, I wrote... It's killing me, because Mass Effect was a staple AAA franchise of the last console generation. Mass Effect was one of those franchises, when you think the Xbox 360, right, in particular, you think Mass Effect. Like, that was one of the must-play series. If you were to buy an Xbox 360, that's one of the most recommended series that you can say. You have to play Mass Effect. That was one of the games that integrated gameplay with RPG elements, with dialogue choices, and things that change depending on your choices, and you gotta play it, right? But then you play Andromeda, and you're just like, what happened? And, you know, primarily this is because what they did is they decided to put the game into the hands of another dev team, a dev team that had not made a Mass Effect game before, And I'm absolutely sure that, as usual, they were forced to cut corners, and they were forced to rush in certain areas, and they were forced to... This is the sad story with most games this day and age. They're released far before they're ready. And then you end up getting these patches later to fix all the fucked up stuff that's in the game. It's a terrible gaming industry practice, okay? And it's sad because the Mass Effect series was way up here, and single-handedly Andromeda has, like, made it drop, boo, in the eyes of everyone, right? To the point where, yeah, Andromeda actually sold pretty well because it had the Mass Effect name, but the vast majority of people who played the game were disappointed with it and have said, we're not going to buy the next one, at least if it's made by the same people. Why the hell would we do that, right? Oh, B-Boy Cyclone just asked, if they re-released the Mass Effect series for the PS4 or Xbox One, would you consider replaying them? Yes, I would, because that series, like I said, it really did feel like a revolutionary thing. When I played Mass Effect 1, and this was before I ever made a video for YouTube, it felt to me like this was a jump. This was an actual original thing, a progression. Now, I know you're going to say, oh, but BioWare has made games like that before in the past. I know, but for me, on console, that was the first game I ever played like that. And it blew me away, the quality of it. It really did. And, like, yes, there were problems with the original Mass Effect. There were bugs. There were game-crippling bugs. But it was okay, and you were willing to push through those bugs to continue to play the game and experience the story because it was such an original and fun experience. You don't feel that when you play Mass Effect Andromeda. You're like, I've played games like this before. There's nothing really original about this game. It's a sad attempt to clone the efforts of what they did with the original series, and the things that they've done to try to make this game feel original or different fail. They actually end up being worse than the original trilogy. So I don't know. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. Or I don't know. For me, when I reviewed Mass Effect Andromeda, I literally said, maybe it's good for the Mass Effect franchise to go away for a while, because if it continues on like this and it continues to degrade, then I think that it's not worth it, okay? You know, I'm a very strong critic of the Halo series continuing past Halo 3. I personally think Halo 4 and 5 were bad games. I think that they were not well designed, the campaigns were shit, and the multiplayer was kind of meh. You know, I think Halo 3, or 2 and 3, are kind of the epitome, because they were both different from each other, but they were both good. And also, what was the other one? Not ODST, Halo Reach. Halo Reach might have been like the height of that series, and that was incidentally the last game in the Halo franchise made by Bungie before they moved on to the Destiny series. But now that 343 took up the reins, it's a sad shadow of what it used to be. And honestly, when Halo comes out, do you hear people hyping up Halo that much anymore? No. Yes, it still has its fan base as hardcore fans, but you don't ever hear people getting hyped for Halo like they used to. That's a franchise that's slowly going away. Much like Gears of War and all of that, they're all kind of fallen by the wayside because they're just overextended or tried to continue with new dev teams and new directions that don't work, okay? So the problem is, I don't know if I would want a sequel to Andromeda. I'm almost of the opinion, right? I'm almost of the opinion, okay, that they should stop with Mass Effect for a bit, regroup, find a dev team that's actually much better than the dev team that made Andromeda. Sorry to say, but they need to find a dev team that's just more a veteran team. They have more chops, more experience under their belt, right? And they need to give the series over to them, and they need to basically try again. Because Andromeda was not good. Andromeda was a way that they will tank the series if they continue it, in my opinion. Okay? That's at least my take on it. Now, I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they will try to continue with a new team. Maybe they won't. I don't know. But it's not working. Right now, it's not working. And that's sad. It's sad to hear news like that come out, that BioWare basically admits that they fucked up and now they're putting the series on hold. Maybe it's the best thing, okay? But we'll see in the future what happens. Sometimes you hear these news stories, the next thing you know, oh, by the way, E3, the next Mass Effect game is being announced. So we'll see, okay? The other gaming news story that I want to talk about, Hitman. Oh, boy, okay? Oh, here's another one. Another series, right, that had a hardcore fan base that for a long time was very lauded and applauded. And then it just decided to do something weird and out of the ordinary that I didn't necessarily agree with, and I didn't know if it was going to work, and at the end of the day, I don't think it worked. And now look what's going on with Hitman. So allow me to explain, all right? Allow me to explain. The Hitman series, always, until last year, was a series of games that was a full release, okay? By the way, shout out to I Am Joe Dub, who just did a 50-bit cheer. Appreciate that, Joe Dub. Hitman, when you bought a Hitman game, you knew you were getting a complete experience on the disc, or digital if you bought it digitally, and it would have a series of assassinations, a coherent story, and everything would tie and mesh together perfectly. And even though there are some Hitman games that are better than others, it was always a series that kind of had consistency to it, right? And Hitman Absolution came out, and the series tried to do something different. It tried to basically dumb down the games a little bit for a more widespread audience, make it a little bit easier. Now, the thing was with Hitman Absolution, you could have played Hitman Absolution in the old style, where you could have played it with none of the new features, like the Hitman Vision, where you could see through walls like Batman and all that shit. You could have turned all that off, okay? And you could have played it like the classic Hitman games. But because Hitman Absolution, by default, okay, had all these features in it that made it an easier game to play, people kind of shunned it, and or the hardcore fan base of the Hitman franchise got pissed off at the game and said it wasn't a good game. Now, I completely disagree with that, okay? Oh, I missed a cheer. Hold on. Leonaris did a 20-bit cheer, and he said, Phil, while on the topic of gaming, have you ever considered doing a playthrough of Blue Whale game? I think it's something some of your long-term viewers would enjoy watching you finish. I've never even heard of it. So, have I considered playing it? No, because this is the first time I've even heard the name Blue Whale. There you go. If I get more information or someone tells me more about it, maybe I'd be interested, but I've never heard of it. But anyway, getting back on topic. So, Hitman Absolution, I personally liked it because it was the first time I had played a Hitman game in years. I actually played Hitman Blood Money, and I had one of them on PC a while ago, and I had played it. But I never was like a big Hitman fan, and when I played Hitman Absolution, being that it was a more casual game, you could jump into it easily with all the features and things they put in it, I really liked it. It was one of my favorite games of that release year. But for whatever reason, the hardcore fan base didn't really embrace the game, and therefore, Square Enix, the publisher, basically told IO Interactive, the game devs under them, who make these games, that yes, you can make a new game, but we're basically not willing to like front all the investment revenue or whatever for you to make a full-on retail game. And what ended up happening was the news for the new Hitman game that came out last year flip-flopped. First, it was going to be a full retail release. Then, no, it's going to be an episodic-only release. It was not going to have a disc release. Then it was going to have a disc release. And it flip-flopped back and forth, back and forth. And honestly, I think what happened was IO Interactive was trying to convince Square Enix, we can make a Hitman game that will sell, okay? And we're going to make it more like the roots, the more hardcore original franchise, right? And not as casualized as Absolution was, but I don't think that they could fully, convince Square Enix as the publisher that they could do it, that they could make a best-selling Hitman game again. So what ended up happening is that Hitman 2015, 2016, I forget when the first episode actually came out, became an episodic release. It was, I think, 5 episodes or 6 episodes. I think it was 5. Where over the course of the year, every few months, a new assassination would open up, and then there would be optional assassinations that really had absolutely nothing to do with the story, but it added optional content. So you would get a little snippet of story, a cutscene, a story-based assassination mission that would last you maybe 2 hours each, and then you would get optional assassination, you know, they were, what were they, something targets, I forget what they were called, like, not optional target, elusive targets, I think they were called, something like that. You know, elusive targets, and it would add extra content to the game, and it would make it, oh, look, you paid $60, but you ended up getting not only, you know, 10 to 12 hours of story-based gameplay, but if you replay the story, then, it, you know, and to find other ways to do the assassinations, now you got 20-plus hours, plus if you do the elusive target missions and all that, now you got 30, 40 hours, but ultimately, what ended up happening with Hitman is that it ended up being a disjointed mess, okay? Typically, when you play a Hitman game, you're playing it from start to finish, and the story is going along with the game, and so you're following along with the story, and by the end of the game, not only do you get a cool story resolution, but you've done a ton of interesting and creative missions back to back. But because Hitman was released as an episodic release, you didn't get that. You get, oh, I get to play a mission and then wait a few weeks. Oh, a new optional mission, then wait a few weeks or months. Oh, the next mission. And the bottom line is, it was impossible to really follow along with the story or to even retain coherence in the gameplay. When you only play a game for a couple hours every few months, it's hard to be good at that game or to fully enjoy that game because you're only going to get that every few months. Now, it's one thing, the episodic formula I feel works for narrative-based games. You know, a Telltale series game, okay, well, all you're really doing in a Telltale series game is picking dialogue options and doing quick time events. That's not something that you need to be immersed in. That's something that you can easily jump in and out of every few months when a new episode is released. And the good thing about Telltale games is that they give you those recaps at the beginning of every episode. So even if you've forgotten what happened last episode, you can kind of remember where you're at. So it's not like you get lost, right? With Hitman, this is a game, right, that needs to have you be immersed in the universe so that you can be, oh, that's right, I have this ability, I have that ability, I could try this, I could try that. This is what's going on with the plot line. I mean, when Hitman ended, the ending of Hitman had no ending. It was just like, it just open-ended. No resolution. One character just disappeared from the plot line completely. You don't even know where he went or what he's doing. And then there was a kind of a cliffhanger ending that never ended, okay? Now, here's the thing. Square Enix never released numbers to say how many copies of Hitman last year actually sold. So no one can actually say, oh, Hitman was a hit or Hitman was a flop. No one knows. Now, eventually, they did make disc versions of the game. But again, they never released sale numbers. So we have no idea, was this game a flop or whatever. All of a sudden this week, the news came out that Square Enix is dropping IO Interactive. So after years, I think they bought them in like 2006 or something like that. So after like an 11-year relationship, they're dropping the game developer. Okay? So that's terrible. Because when you're a game developer and you don't have a publisher, you don't have a source of funding, you don't have a home, basically everything ends up in the air, and now everything's incredibly uncertain for the franchise, right? I mean, Hitman is the flagship franchise of IO Interactive. Every once in a while they do something else, but Hitman is what they've been focusing on. Now, the silver lining here, all right, the silver lining to all of this is that at first, people were very worried, and they were like, is this it for Hitman? Because, you know, does Square Enix own the rights to Hitman and all that? Does that mean that Hitman's canceled? It's not 100% confirmed, but apparently the story breaking now is that actually it's IO Interactive who retains the rights to Hitman, and they were already working on Hitman Season 2, and therefore it wouldn't make sense for them not to finish the game and release it because they would just lose money. If you already got a game that's partially finished or mostly finished, it makes more sense to finish the game and release it and try to make whatever money you can than just cancel the whole project. And if IO Interactive actually does own the rights to the Hitman franchise, they could do that. The only thing they need to do, they need to find a publisher. So they need to find someone who will buy them as a company, who will finance their efforts to basically sell the game, make it disc, and put it on Xbox Live and play PSN and all of that. It's scary, especially if you're a fan of these franchises. Mass Effect and Hitman, two flagship franchises, are in hot water because of terrible decisions, really, honestly, by the publishers. And you gotta wonder at some point, you know, what's gonna happen with these? Can we even trust? Does the publisher model work anymore? What I mean by that is there's a lot of people, and a lot of game devs, I should say, who've decided they don't like the publisher model anymore because publishers constantly have these restrictions, these you got to finish the game by this date, you rush the game out without fixing the bugs, you got to make a game episodic when it doesn't work that way. And when the publishers make these decisions, it screws these franchises over, right? By the way, shout out to dhaj22, who just subscribed to my channel with Twitch Prime. Thank you, dhaj. Appreciate that. So a lot of game devs recently have said, this isn't working anymore, okay? Oh, by the way, dhaj just said, I've been a big fan of yours since the days of Battlefield 1943. Wow, that's been a while. Thank you. Long-time viewer. Awesome. Thank you for joining me today. A lot of game devs have decided the best course of action to take is to do it themselves. So they go crowdfund, right? They go to Kickstarter and they crowdfund their games. The problem there is, right, if you don't deliver on what you promise, it could be a double-edged sword. And I think we saw that last year with Mighty Number 9, a game from the game designer of Mega Man was so angry that Capcom, the publisher who owned the rights to Mega Man, wouldn't allow him to make another full Mega Man game. He left the company and Kickstarter funded his own continuation of the franchise, but it made all these promises, and then when the game released, it flopped because basically it didn't live up to all the promises of what they said they would put into the game because they didn't have the money and resources to hire a dev team that could do the things that had been done with Mega Man previously, right? Same thing You know, when you look at games like No Man's Sky, right? No Man's Sky, if it had an actual game publisher, a solid game publisher during its development. Now, I think later on it got a game publisher, right? But originally it didn't have like a major game publisher or whatever. The publisher might have said, well, no, for this to release and be a major release, it needs to be this and this and this. But what ended up happening is No Man's Sky, right, crowdfunded, and then he promises the world. Eventually it picks up funding so it could have a wide release on every fucking console and everything. And then it releases and it's terrible, you know, because it doesn't have any of the stuff the guy promised. So that's the double-edged sword. When you don't go with a major publisher, you don't have to rush your game and you don't have to do the things that the game publishers can force you into. But at the same time, if you don't live up to the promises and expectations you've promised the people that fund you, now you're shocked. Because the bottom line is, who's ever going to buy another game from Sean Murray? You know, I'm sure there's some people who are hardcore fans of No Man's Sky. I wouldn't trust Sean Murray to do another game, right? I certainly wouldn't crowdfund a game that he did, right? And sadly, you look at the Mighty Number 9 situation. Inafune, who is the game developer, who was, again, the creator of Mega Man and everything, he's a good game developer. And honestly, I think he had good intentions. He just didn't have the manpower and the resources to make a game the quality of the Mega Man games that Capcom put out, because he didn't have that much funding or resources under his wing. He did the best that he could. But who's going to ever fund another game from Inafune now? You know what I mean? Like, it's very alarming, and it sucks because these are talented game devs now that who's ever gonna put up, or who's gonna hire them? That's the other thing. Do you really think a major publisher or a major studio will hire these guys after they've put out these flop games? I don't think so. So effectively, they've kind of run themselves into a corner, a creative corner, and what are they gonna do? I don't know. But for me anyway, it's very disheartening when there's these game series and game franchises, right, that could be doing well, but because they're under a publisher, they flop. And this is the problem with Hitman. It was doing good. Because of some fan feedback with Hitman Absolution, they decided to change the whole formula of the fucking game. It flops, basically, and now IO Interactive is looking for a new buyer. Will IO Interactive find a new buyer? Well, I think there are enough hardcore fans of Hitman that I think they will eventually find someone to buy them and fund another Hitman game, especially because they've already got almost Season 2 ready to go, apparently. But, again, I don't know who, you know what I mean? Like, people have played Hitman Season 1, and they know that the game's disjointed. I think if they release Hitman Season 2, you're not going to get nearly as many people who are going to buy it. Because there are people who, at the very beginning of Hitman Season 1, bought the Season Pass so they could have the whole game. But then they didn't like it because of the episodic formula, and they're not going to come back to buy Season 2. Woobank just did a 222-bit cheer, and he says, Sean Murray and his team should stick to making Joe Danger games. I don't know. I never played Joe Danger. I know what it is, though. I've seen it. I know exactly what Joe Danger is, but I've never played one of those games, so. All right, everyone. So that is it for gaming news. Those are the two big gaming news stories right now. Now I want to talk a little bit about WWE, all right? Then we're going to take a break. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to cover my gaming schedule coming up and all the games coming up the next couple of months. Then we're going to talk about partner networks and stuff like that, and then we're going to have a Q&A segment. So we still got a lot more to come on the show, all right? I know it's almost time for a break. Okay, let's talk WWE, folks. I haven't talked about pro wrestling in a long time, all right? Oh, actually, hold on, because I just got a tip. I just got a $1 tip from Jay Walker. He says, I think that the problem with episodic games is that each season is treated as a full game cut up. Do you think that IO can save Hitman by making it free to play with so many free updates to motivate the gamer to play it all the time? There's no way that Hitman will survive free to play. There's no way. Because ultimately, when you do free to play games, you have to have a formula that addicts the player to spend a lot of money. I know this for a fact because the games that I play on mobile phone, all right, are all free to play games. They're all free downloads, but the only real way that you can get logical progression in the game or any kind of true advancement is if you spend money, okay? That's how free-to-play games work. How are you going to do it? You can only play Hitman for 10 minutes at a time until you have to wait for the game meter to recharge, but if you spend money, you can keep playing it. You know what I mean? You can't get any items or anything. You can play Hitman, but you have no hands. If you spend $5, you can unlock hands for an hour, you know? It wouldn't work. You couldn't do a free-to-play model with a game like Hitman. They would have to completely redesign the game from the ground up, and that's not going to happen. Okay. All right, now let's talk about WWE, as I said. Now, I don't talk about wrestling that often anymore. I don't. because I used to do a wrestling commentary show, and when I moved across the country, it went away. And so now when I talk about wrestling, I barely do, and when I do, it's on social media for a couple seconds. Lots have changed, all right, in regards to the WWE in the past couple of years. A lot of people from the indie scenes, right, in particular Ring of Honor and or the Japanese wrestling circuit, have come to the WWE and been recruited. They've gone through the training school of NXT and have made it to the main roster. We're now seeing people like Kevin Owens, Shinsuke Nakamura, AJ Styles, which is incredibly surprising, but he is at the top now. All these guys who used to be the biggest guys of indie, Samoa Joe, who are now coming into their own on mainstream WWE TV. But what's happened is kind of the old guard has gone away. Guys like John Cena, Batista, The Undertaker, Kane, all of these guys are now kind of being phased out. And what you're seeing is a lot of the hardcore fan base who've been around for a long time are a little upset because their favorites, those icons that they're used to seeing, aren't there anymore. And there really hasn't, honestly, been any kind of a true effort by WWE to make one of these new up-and-coming guys the new icon of WWE. If anything, all right, in my opinion, I think what's going on is that WWE tried too much in too short a period of time. In like 2 years' time, they've pushed a good 20, 30 new guys and put them on the main roster, but never gave them enough time to develop so that they could actually be iconic, like a John Cena or a Rock or a Kurt Angle. They haven't done it. They haven't gotten them to the point where they're getting that kind of attention. And so you look at a guy like Kevin Owens, who was incredibly over in the indie scene. Incredibly over. He was the big guy, Kevin Steen, right? Kill Steen, kill. And he was the top guy in Ring of Honor, and he was the top guy at any indie scene that he performed, and he was basically carrying the companies in the indie scene for 2 years. They bring him into WWE, they put him in a plot line with John Cena and give him an initial push and immediately squash the push within 3 months. Now he's got nothing to do. Now he's in, like, filler plot lines and shit, right? Then they eventually start giving him pushes again and making him kind of a top guy. They eventually give him the Universal Championship, which is great, but then they don't actually give him any legitimacy. They never let him win a match legit. It's always because he's friends with Chris Jericho. He wins the typical WWE heel bullshit. The heel can only win by cheating. The heel can literally never have a legit win, which is terrible. It makes no sense to do it that way. You have to, even if you have a heel champion, you have to legitimize that champion. Shawn Michaels was the quintessential heel champion in the 1990s, but he actually won matches. You know, he had fucking crazy Iron Man matches with Bret Hart and stuff. You could tell he was a great wrestler. When I watch Kevin Owens wrestle in the WWE, I can't tell that he's a great wrestler because they always do a stupid screw job finish or some kind of cheating bullshit. You know what I mean? They don't legitimize the people, and because you don't legitimize them, it's hard to get behind them. And in my opinion, that's the major problem with WWE, okay, is that they're not legitimizing their new guys anymore. Take a look, perfect example here, a guy like Sami Zayn, who was known as El Generico in the indie circuit, okay, comes to WWE, well, we're going to use a new character, we're going to call you Sami Zayn, you can still wrestle the same way, you can even have gimmicks and things similar to what you used to do as El Generico, but we want to individualize you for WWE, great. NXT, Sami Zayn's amazing. He's kicking everyone's ass, he's having great programs with Kevin Owens and other wrestlers, the crowd, he's super over, people, ole, 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 ole. They bring him to the main roster, and they literally do nothing with him. He's the jobber. He's the one who loses every match, even though they claim that he's a great wrestler, and every time the commentators talk about him, they kiss his ass. He never wins. He always gets crushed. He gets destroyed. They're putting him out there against monsters like fucking Braun Strowman, right? He's in plot lines with Mick Foley, where the plot line is that Foley has no confidence in him and thinks that he's going to lose or get hurt. I mean, how do you support someone that you know WWE themselves isn't even putting confidence in, right? How could I ever say I'm a fan of Sami Zayn when they never give Sami Zayn a chance, okay? And now on the flip side of that, when WWE finds someone that somehow finds a way to get themselves over by themselves, they always fucking squash it. I mean, the case in point here that I have to bring up is Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder was his own phenomenon. Zack Ryder had a terrible gimmick. It was shit. No one liked it. It was a joke, and everyone knew it. He was a jobber. He went online and individually on YouTube made himself internet famous, okay? And then took that into his character, and he was white hot. People loved him. They cheered him. Everything about him. He was a great character. He was getting better in the ring. Everything was good, and Vince doesn't like that. how dare Zack Ryder try to get himself over without us, right, and our input? So he basically takes over the YouTube channel and makes him do shit stuff on the YouTube channel that's not good anymore, and basically gets him to stop doing it. And then he just destroys the character. He wins a title, then immediately gets crushed by Kane, and supposedly is fucking crippled. And then his girlfriend Eve then dumps him, right? Then he comes back white hot again, right? And the fans are behind him. He wins the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, and then Vince has him job within a month. You see what I mean? The problem is when you used to watch WWE, you could back people. You could say, wow, Kurt Angle, he's a good talent, he's good on the mic, you know, he's kind of green, but he's getting better. And they would take these people and make them highlights and support them and focus them and push them. Now it's like, oh, we'll push them for 2 months, and if it doesn't immediately explode, fuck it, we'll just squash it, right? AJ Styles is insanely over only because of what he's done in the indies, all right? Since AJ Styles came to WWE, what did he really do? He had a program with Chris Jericho, which was okay. It wasn't great. It was just okay. It was a good way to introduce the character, but it wasn't a great way to get him over. Especially because he lost to fucking Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. Shout out to Kavoris, by the way, who did a 10-bit cheer. It was me, Austin. It was always me. Yes. Then they turn AJ heel, okay? And basically, he's the top heel on SmackDown for about a year. Why is he the top heel on SmackDown? Mostly because John Cena isn't around, right? John Cena was off doing movies and bullshit and all kinds of shit that no one cared about. But he was off doing all this PR shit. So they make him the champion. They put him in programs with, like, Dean Ambrose and shit. That's not going to get him over. And again, if you watch the matches, a lot of the matches AJ was in, he never wins legitimately. He cheats or there's a technicality. Now, I do have to say this. Eventually, they actually let AJ get a few really big legit wins over people like Dean Ambrose and John Cena. And that was the right thing to do, except then when WrestleMania time comes along, we can't have AJ be the champion at WrestleMania. We got to put the title back on the old part-timers, because we all know that people will only buy WrestleMania if they see the familiar faces. So they make AJ job to John Cena clean, which undoes his victory and makes him look weak again. And that's the problem. How could you support an up-and-coming person in WWE when the WWE themselves will, at a whim, just completely throw that character away or completely stop supporting that character because they want to basically do their own fucking thing? And oh, it's WrestleMania, we got to bring back the part-timers again, all right? I hate that. I absolutely hate that. By the way, shout out to KM2177 who just subscribed to the channel. Thank you, KM2177. Appreciate that. All right. So now let's talk about the current shows. All right, let's talk about Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw right now is in shambles. And I hate to say that, but it is. They basically split the, they did this talent superstar shakeup a few months, or about a month ago. And when they did it, I don't think they honestly did it intelligently at all. They just did it to try to say, oh, we're mixing things up after WrestleMania and try to look like things were refreshed, when in reality, they're not so good. So on Monday Night Raw, okay, you've got such a mishmash of people, and none of which are actually in the title contention. The champion of Monday Night Raw is Brock Lesnar, who we haven't seen since the last pay-per-view when he beat Goldberg. And it's like, are you fucking serious? Like, really? Like, how stupid is that? We haven't seen, Brock Lesnar now in a month, so he's your champion. So he's a part-time champion. That means that basically the Universal title means nothing. Because if the champion doesn't have to be on Raw and it's not ever in contention, then why do you care, right? We already learned that this doesn't work a few years ago when Brock Lesnar was the champion, and it was him and John Cena, but then he would go away for months, right? This doesn't work. You can't have an absentee champion. You need to have a champion that's going to represent the brand at all times so that you can have a constant program. Right now, we have no idea what's going to happen. Right now, we've got for title contention, you got Seth Rollins, who wants a title shot. You got Dean Ambrose, who wants a title shot. You got Braun Strowman wants a title shot. You got all these people who want title shots. But since Brock Lesnar's not there, it's just filler. So why would you even tune in, right? Why would you tune in to Raw when the main plot line of Raw, which you should be following, is the Universal title, isn't on the show, and it's all filler? Right now, Raw is 100% filler content. There's no actual meaningful content that you need to watch, or if you feel like you're missing. You're missing nothing if you don't watch Raw right now. By the way, shout out to Comp Bros, who just subscribed to my channel. Thank you, Comp Bros. I appreciate that. So it blows my mind. It really does. It absolutely blows my mind that this is what they're doing on Raw. Smackdown is a little better, but not that much because of what they did with the Smackdown title. So at WrestleMania, the big main event match that they've been building for like 6 to 7 months, this plotline where Randy Orton joined the Wyatt family, right? And then he turned the Wyatt family against Bray Wyatt, only then to turn himself on Bray Wyatt so they could have this big showdown at WrestleMania. Excuse me. I'm okay with that, all right? I'm totally okay with that. That made sense. But then immediately after WrestleMania, Bray Wyatt gets completely squashed, right? Like, he's not even a good contender anymore. Gets pushed to the wayside. They have this stupid House of Horrors match. It's not even for the title and doesn't matter, right? And now, who do they put into the #1 contendership for the SmackDown title? Jinder Mahal. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing, folks. I'm not against up-and-coming superstars getting chances. I'm not. I fully believe that people should give given chances. And a lot of the times, people who've been given chances in the WWE who maybe wouldn't have gotten that chance, all of a sudden they blow up. Take a look at CM Punk, who had been used as, like, he was on freaking the ECW show when they had it, and then he was used as, like, kind of a second-rate heel on SmackDown. It wasn't only until he was made as the main heel of SmackDown and going up against Jeff Hardy that he came into his own, and then people found out he was amazing, right? But he never would have had that opportunity if he didn't get that shot. A lot of people didn't agree with making CM Punk the top heel of SmackDown at the time, but he ended up doing an amazing job, okay? Jinder Mahal is not a new guy. Jinder Mahal's been with the company for a long time. A long time. A lot of people don't realize, I think it was like 10 years. And he had many opportunities to get over. He had opportunities to do stuff. But he was always this kind of generic Indian/Punjabi character that was always a heel. And that doesn't always work, you know. And it sucks because it does suck that Jinder is the race that he is. Not because that race, there's nothing wrong with it, but because Vince has a hard time having these international people be his top guys. He has a hard time putting confidence behind people of certain ethnicities. And I hate to say that, but it's absolutely true. Look at African Americans, right? Any African American in the WWE, it's going to be a very tough time for you to ever become world champion. It's just the case. Look at how few African American world champions there have been in WWE. For some reason, Vince has this stereotype in his fucking head that the champion needs to be this white, and I'm saying white, right? And it has to be like this cookie cutter, either a big roided guy, or he has to be a guy that's really charismatic on the mic, right? It's ridiculous. And Vince, it's not just black people, but other races. Vince has always been like that. Why is it every time there's an international, person who's not American or Canadian, because he really loves Canadians too. But why is it that when people aren't white, that Vince has to put them into a fucking, look at the League of Nations? That was so ridiculous. Oh, I'm from Bulgaria. Well, I'm from Britain. I'm from here or here. And that was a joke. And Vince does this all the time. These very stereotypical racial things. And it's funny that, the SJW movement that has been so all over the internet, right? Always, they're attacking everything. How have they missed this? How have they not completely attacked and tried to destroy the WWE when Vince on the regular does these kind of racist things, right? So here's the thing. It would have been interesting if maybe WWE had taken Jinder Mahal and they put him in a series of matches. And in the series of matches, he's winning. And it's surprising, he's coming out with new moves and new techniques, and he's beating people. He's going up a ladder, right? But he's a heel. He's a big heel. And maybe after the matches, he beats the shit out of his opponent. But he's winning the matches legitimately, and he's climbing the ladder. Then he finally gets into this #1 contenders match, and people actually are considering that he may win it. He wins it. Oh my God, this guy's on a hot streak. And now he's a big ultra heel, and he's a heel that is confident in himself and he's going to take on Randy Orton. They didn't do any of that whatsoever. Ever. What they did, they literally had him lose. They brought him back last year as a filler character to fill in during the time when they felt that they were trying to bring in more people to have the shows diversified, especially when they knew that they were going to have Raw and SmackDown be separate brands that were going to have individual people. They knew they were going to need more people to fill in the gaps. So they bring him in and have lose. He loses every fucking match. No one has any confidence that he can ever win a match or whatever. All of a sudden, he wins the #1 contenders match. right? Out of nowhere, he wins the #1 contenders match and becomes the #1 contender for the SmackDown title. Oh, what are we going to do? Are we going to put confidence in him and have him win matches and look good? Of course not. Now he's the ultra Indian heel, right? He's Indian. He's Punjabi. I think he's not a Punjabi character this time. Now he's just Indian. Because he's from India. He's an Indian prince. And no one respects him because he's rich. And because he's from India. And everyone's racist against him. And of course, they got to bring in a tag team from NXT that was called the Bollywood Boys. 2 Indian wrestlers have to be on his team. Now he has a stable with 2 other Indian guys. And they're the ultra Indian team. All, you know, racial stuff. This is what Vince always fucking does. And it never fucking works. I don't know how many times you can do the same thing to see it's not working. By the way, shout out to Kavoris, who did a 10-bit cheer, and he says, Phil, when will we see you writing for the WWE creative team? Never, because they would never hire me, because that's the thing. But from what I'm to understand, WWE is a very inclusive company. It's still one of those businesses that it's more like the good old boys club. You got to be in the know group of insiders to even work for WWE. And once you get there, you got to play with the rules. And there's all this bullying culture and shit that goes on behind the scenes. I would not put up with that shit. I really wouldn't. And even though I know that I could write better than what a lot of these fucking WWE writers do, I wouldn't even want to put myself in that situation. I wouldn't. So now what you've got, okay, you've got a stable, a racially powered stable that's just a filler, because we all know the fact that that's not going to last, that basically it's a filler. What they're doing is they're trying to figure out who they really want to end up being the top guys on SmackDown, and right now they've got guys on SmackDown like Kevin Owens, like AJ Styles, and they want them to be the top guys, but they don't have the confidence yet. So what they're doing is they have this weird interim time where you're going to have Randy Orton against Jinder Mahal, and who knows how many months this will go on for, right? And do I expect Jinder to win the title? No. But at the same time, who knows how stupid WWE is? They might put it on him just to make this team legitimate, run, like a legitimate run, and then eventually Orton will win it back, and then it'll be Orton against whoever is legitimate is going to be his opponent, okay? But really, honestly, I don't know, like, what is my motivation right now to watch Raw? There is none, because there's no champion. The champion's off the show, and the other guys on the show, it's just filler content, and you know that WWE has no confidence in them. What's my motivation to watch SmackDown? Well, it's Randy Orton versus Jinder Mahal. Just telling me that, I have no motivation to watch SmackDown, you know? Now, luckily, I am a fan of wrestling, and I do watch the behind-the-scenes stuff, okay? And when I do that, I like to see the up-and-comers come up. And in fact, one thing that I've definitely enjoyed is watching NXT, all right? NXT is probably, and I'm not exaggerating here, if you don't have the WWE Network and you haven't seen NXT, you wouldn't know. It's the best wrestling show that the WWE puts out right now, all right? Why is it the best wrestling show that WWE puts out? Well, number one, because it's all fresh talent. You get to see fresh faces, you get to see them performing and trying out new stuff and creating their characters. This really is a developmental place where you can see these people solidify who they are, and then you're going to eventually see them on the main roster, which is awesome, okay? That's the good thing about NXT. The other thing that's a good thing about NXT, it's only an hour long. So because it's only an hour long a week, you don't get inundated with too much shit. You don't get inundated with so much garbage. All the filler crap, you know, the joke tag match that you don't care about, 4 million fucking advertisements. Because it's only an hour long, you get to see the quality stuff, boom, 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 and you feel refreshed after you watch it. You don't feel like, man, I'm stuck on my couch for 3.5 hours watching this fucking thing because it's so long. That's the other problem with Raw. It's incredibly too fucking long, and the problem with SmackDown is there's too many ads. I've noticed that recently, is that Monday Night Raw is way too long, but when you watch SmackDown, it's much shorter, but I end up fast-forwarding through most of the show because it's mostly advertisements. That's the problem with those shows. So, TNA, oh my god, I almost said TNA. NXT, in my opinion, is the best thing going for WWE right now. I actually feel that it's the most entertaining show, and I like seeing guys like the Powers of Pain is a pretty interesting tag team. Similar to other tag teams that we've seen before, like the Shield and other stuff, but it's pretty cool to see these up-and-coming groups developing in NXT. I like it. I like that a lot. Eric Young, who was for sometimes used really well in TNA and other times completely underutilized, has a big heel stable. They're actually giving him a lot of confidence in NXT. It'll be very interesting to see how that translates when he goes to the main roster. If the stable comes with him and he ends up having a whole heel stable. There hasn't been a legitimate heel stable on the WWE main TV in a long time, so it would be cool to see him maybe bring them all up with him, but I don't know if they would do that, okay? Oh, the only other thing, some people are asking me to talk about the Hardy Boys. All right, I can talk about the Hardy Boys. I guess that'll end the WWE segment for now, okay? The Hardy Boys returned to the WWE at WrestleMania. Surprise return. Everyone wanted them to go back to WWE because they've been tearing up the indie scene lately. Now, everyone knows the Hardy Boys have had lots of trouble in the past with drugs and all that, and that's a reason why they ended up leaving WWE to begin with. But they've been clean for a while, and they're actually performing at a really high level in the ring, which is great. So to see them go to the indies and become, you know, they were in TNA with the broken Matt Hardy angle and all that, and the delete, and all that shit. White hot. They did their own internet viral videos that were cheesy, but so cheesy that they were good and entertaining. And they basically blew up because of that. Again, they became kind of the viral thing when it comes to pro wrestling. And so, of course, WWE got interested in them again. So they re-signed them. The problem right now the Hardys are facing is that TNA is trying to say they own the characters that the Hardy Boys acted as when they were in TNA. So they own the broken Matt Hardy idea. They own that Matt Hardy was deleted and that he has, you know, that he's basically mind controlled or whatever by Matt. They think that they own all that shit. And it's hard to tell because really dependent on who you ask, right? Some people will say, oh no, you know, the Hardy Boys did. They signed away the rights when they went to TNA and therefore TNA owns that stuff. While if you ask other people, they're like, no, that's bullshit. That's their own creative property. How could they possibly own it? So no one really knows the behind-the-scenes story of what happened contractually between the Hardys and TNA. But you have to ask this. You really have to ask this, okay? What on earth does Impact Wrestling, TNA, whatever you want to call them, because I know they're owned by another company now. What on earth do they have to gain by holding on to those characters? No one's going to buy merch from TNA. No one's going to buy the videos from TNA. The videos that are popular of the Hardy Boys in the delete or broken Matt Hardy character are free on the internet. They're already there, so you can watch them whenever you want. They're not making any money on that. It's not like they're going to make any residuals, right? I don't understand why they're doing it. It almost seems to me like they're doing it out of spite, that they're angry that Matt and Jeff got white hot popular while they were with TNA, and so now out of spite, they're going to basically hold them hostage and not allow them to use the character. And it's hilarious because if you watch Matt and Jeff wrestle, they're doing the moves they did as the broken characters. Matt's going delete in the ring. He's still got the dyed hair, the broken Matt Hardy hair. So you know they want to do it. The crowd is cheering delete when they're wrestling. They want this to happen. They want them to be a heel stable and do all the kinds of zany stuff that they did in TNA and bring that to the main roster of WWE. But legally, they can't do it. Now, there's a legal battle going on. I don't know if we'll ever see a good resolution to the legal battle, right? Who knows which way it's going to go? Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. I would love to see the broken Matt Hardy, deleted Jeff Hardy characters in WWE. But right now, at least it's good to see the Hardys back. It just sucks because you know what's going to happen if they don't get those broken characters in WWE soon. Like, if let's say 6 more months and they're not there, the hype of the Hardys will die out, and they're just going to become another tag team. And that's the problem. Is WWE already has enough just another tag teams. They've got tag teams they're not doing anything with. And they're just sitting around, so they don't need another tag team, and that's the problem. If you can't get that cool gimmick in there that's going to bring in the people and get them excited, then what's the point, right? It's a bad situation. It really is. I hope the best. I hope that they can win the legal battle and they can bring those characters in. I do. But right now, it's looking very uncertain, so we don't know, okay? All right, folks, it is time for a break. I have to take a leak really badly. I've now been doing this podcast for about an hour and a half, so I'm going to take a break, all right? When I come back from the break, we're going to be talking about the upcoming games and gaming schedule so you know exactly what to expect. We're going to be talking about MCNs and partner networks and all the shit that I've been through in the past 2 months and regarding that, so you'll get the full story on that. And then we're going to have an open Q&A segment at the end of the show. So there's still at least an hour, if not more, left in the show. Great podcast so far. I want to say thank you to everyone who has been cheering, subbing, tipping. It's cool. I like that. I'm interacting with you a little bit more. I'm reading your messages and everything. Okay. and we'll be back. All right, so about a 10-15 minute break here roughly, so I can rest my voice, and then I'll be back, and then we'll continue on with the podcast. Okay, everyone? Thank you for watching, and I'll be back shortly. What I'm going to do, I am going to split the video because it makes no sense for me to upload this to YouTube as one long video with a 15-minute dead time. So this will be part 1, and then there will be a part 2 of the podcast on YouTube. But for the stream's just going to go on break for now, okay? All right, everyone, thank you. I will see you in a few minutes with more of the return of Hate Live. See you then.